Hey guys, welcome to the Let's Talk live stream watch along, and this time we're doing 1988's Die Hard. So we'll be watching, at least over here, I'll be watching this 4K Blu-ray that came out a few years ago. It's the first Die Hard. I only have this one on 4K because I don't feel like the sequels ever match up to this. Although Die Hard with a Vengeance is pretty good, and Die Hard 2 ain't bad. It's just the same movie. That's the only real issue with the second Die Hard. So let me know if you guys can hear me, if everything's coming in crisp and clear. It looks like it is. Just want to make sure. Is anyone here in the live stream yet before we start the show? And probably like give everyone a few minutes to show up and get everyone in here before we get going. Let's see who's the first comment today. It's Kevin Kruger. What's up, John? What's up, Kevin? How you doing, buddy? Looking forward to watching Die Hard. Probably give everyone a little bit of time, and then we'll all press play at the same time. And there's Jason Martin. Oh, he said, I can hear you, no problem. All right. So hopefully we don't have the issue we had on the last watch along for T2. But if that does happen, I'm just going to start up another live stream with the same thumbnail. So just look for that if that does happen, guys. Hopefully it doesn't. I'm using a different browser. So I think that was the issue last time, but I'm not 100% sure. So if everyone just keeps jumping in here, it'll still be about, another 10 minutes we'll give until, we start the movie. So anything you guys want to talk about, we can. Kevin Kruger wrote, do you consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? I 100% do. Die Hard 2. Yeah, does something block it. Yeah, I consider Die Hard 2 a Christmas movie as well. Pretty similar themes as the first one. It doesn't have, I think, the same tone to be considered a Christmas movie like the first one does. The first one just has Christmas, that's why I always get confused when people say it's not a Christmas movie, because there's so much of the movie wrapped around Christmas. It takes place on Christmas Eve at a Christmas party. There's people are humming music. We hear, Christmas in Hollis, Queens in the beginning by Run DMC. I consider it, I think it's more of a Christmas movie in a way than Lethal Weapon, but I still think Lethal Weapon is actually a better Christmas movie in my opinion. And that's just because I'm a little bit biased. I love Lethal Weapon. It's actually one of my favorite movies ever. But Die Hard and Die Hard 2, I think, are both in their own ways Christmas movies. Kevin also said, I hope we get a Die Hard 4K box set soon. So do I. It's kind of what I'm holding out for, actually. And I haven't revisited the last two Die Hards in a long time. I remember being really disappointed with what was that? That wasn't Live Free Die Hard. Whatever the last one was, that one was just, it was awful. But the first three are good. Actually, I really think Die Hard with a Vengeance is actually a really good 90s action movie. I love Samuel Jackson. I think him and Bruce Willis have great chemistry. New York City, that was just a great idea. I really think that Die Hard with a Vengeance on its own is actually a pretty good movie. It's obviously, it's kind of just stuck in the franchise. That's the one thing, is Die Hard is just such a great film. It overwhelms the rest of the films in the franchise. And the last one being PG-13 didn't really work too well for me. Die Hard is on my Christmas watch list every year simply because it's a step away. It's a step away from a typical holiday film, Jason Martin. Well, yeah, that's the other thing about this movie. Oops, dropped my controller because of the vibrations. But that's the other thing about this movie, is that, yeah, it's not your typical Christmas movie. It's an action movie. It actually wasn't even planned to be really a Christmas movie. It originally came out, I believe, in July of 1988, which, people do that. And, the Christmas theme kind of caught on after the fact. It's not really directly said in the movie, hey, this is a Christmas movie. It's just that we know it's a Christmas movie because it's a holiday party. They want to get back together for Christmas. But it's not directly. And plus, yeah, it's an action movie, really front and center. Kevin Kruger said that, so sad that we will never get to see Bruce Willis act again. Yeah, it is really, really rough to know that. Bruce Willis has always been one of the better action stars. Obviously we had the 80s action stars with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. And yeah, this is an 80s action star making performance in Die Hard, but it's at the end of the 80s. And I think that kind of helps the transition to the 1990s when we get the regular man action star. Nicolas Cage does not have an action star look, but he could arguably be the action star of the 1990s. We had the 3 movies in a row of The Rock, On Air, and Face Off. Those are 3 of the biggest 90s action movies ever. John Travolta was an action star in the 90s. It's just a very different time, and Bruce Willis was front and center there. Obviously, we still had Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, but they kind of took a step back too. Brad Pitt kind of becomes an action star at the end of the decade. But Bruce Willis was he just had the chops, and then he also was just a good actor in movies like Pulp Fiction, where he kind of comes in and it's not really a part of the whole big ensemble, but his segment is one of the best ones in the movie. So, and plus, again, he has good chemistry with John Travolta too. They acted a couple times together as well. But then, he also really worked great with M. Night Shyamalan in The Sixth Sense, and I think he's great in Unbreakable. I think Unbreakable is one of the best superhero films of all time. And it's funny that it just kind of was ahead of its time. I think it came out the same year as X-Men, and they kind of do have like a similar tone to them. But I still think that Unbreakable compared to X-Men, I'd still say Unbreakable's the better movie. But X-Men, I really like the first X-Men movie. It's just you could tell they ran out of money by the end of it. But still, it's a great, great movie. What time is it now? It's 7:36. So we'll give everyone a few more minutes. If you guys are loading them into the 4K players, the Blu-ray players, whatever you guys are doing. A little bit of bourbon tonight. Nothing too crazy. Just to enjoy with the movie. It is a Christmas party after all in this movie at Nakatomi Plaza. Dun, 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 dun. It's just playing in my ears. So are you guys watching the 4Ks too, the Blu-rays? I'm sure a lot of people jumping in and out as we go, but anything you guys want to ask while we're watching the movie, that's cool too. Otherwise, I'll just do some commentary over the film. That's why we let everybody in here. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It's also a really good John McTiernan movie. Like, this came out the year after he did Predator, and then I think he did The Hunt for the Red October. I think that was his next movie, because I think that's 1990 with Alec Baldwin. So made kind of Alec Baldwin an action star as well. Because before that, I never really thought action with Alec Baldwin. He's the guy from Beetlejuice, and he's got his brothers and everything. Kevin Kruger just wrote, "What's the most underrated Bruce Willis movie?" Ooh, that's a good question. It's gonna be funny, but I always liked how he his voice acting for Mikey in the first two Look Who's Talking movies. That's actually probably where I actually first saw Bruce Willis, was in the Look Who's Talking. Well, I guess first time I ever heard Bruce Willis, but I always thought he did a pretty good job as the voice of Mikey. Honestly, that's probably a very underrated one. I'm sure nobody ever talks about that performance. What other movies has he done that's kind of just like popping up? He's not too bad. I know that him and Kevin Smith don't really like to talk about it. I know they made up, but that movie that they did together, that movie was pretty good as well. I really enjoyed that in its own way. That's actually Fate's last, one of our favorite movies. Jason Martin wrote Last Man Standing, and Sean Zabita wrote Striking Distance. I don't know if I've ever seen Striking Distance. I definitely have to see that now. Huh. That's one. Tears of the Sun was a good one when that came out. I remember that one. I enjoyed that. Oh, Hostage, Kevin Kruger wrote. Okay. Yeah, Bruce Willis has been in a lot of movies, and then honestly, like over the last 10 years, even before he's gotten sick to this point, but he was doing a lot of like direct to video movies. But 16 Blocks was a good one too that he was good in. I like that one. I like those kinds of movies when you're on a ticking clock and you got to get somewhere. Those are always fun. Like, kind of ended up like with 21 Bridges, ended up being very similar to that, except that one starred Chadwick Boseman. Also, rest in peace to him. So I got it already loaded up. She's almost ready to go. So we're going to go 2 minutes. I'm sure people will jump in here as we're watching the movie, which is cool. It's no big deal. Just, enjoy it. You guys can see some of the movies behind me. I already got The Warriors turned around. That is just one of the best 4Ks of 2023. Just phenomenal. Jason Martin wrote Moonlighting with Willis as well. Sybil Shepherd was a great TV show. Moonlight, yes. I've only seen Moonlighting a little bit, but actually it's on Hulu now. I think the entire series, so everybody can actually watch that now. But yeah, it's pretty funny. That's why at the time in 1988, when this movie came out, in 1987 when Bruce Willis was cast, people were mad about that because they spent $5 million to get him. And, he was really known for just moonlighting. They didn't see the star power in him. He didn't have the Schwarzenegger Stallone look, but they gave him so much money because Schwarzenegger was one of the actors who turned it down. Everybody was turning it down. So they gave the money to Willis, and it worked out. This is really the star-making performance for him. Death Becomes Her. Oh, I love that movie, Kevin. Death Becomes Her is a great movie. That's like where you get to see more of the light-hearted side of Bruce Willis. That's a great movie. I actually really enjoy that one. All right. Let's see the time. 7:40. All right, guys. So we'll count it down from right now. I'm going over to I'm in the menu right now. I'm going to hit play and I'll tell you where I'm paused so that we all can synchronize start this thing. Oh, Planet Bazar. I just watched Black Christmas yesterday. It was awesome. Oh, Black Christmas is awesome, Planet Bazar. Love that movie. Willis in the first episode of the 80s Twilight Zone series. Oh, you know what? I actually didn't know that. I know that you could see Bruce Willis in The Verdict. He's one of the people sitting in the courtroom in the front row. Still has hair. So right now I'm paused. Title chapter 1. It's 0.001 seconds. So that's just about ready to hit play. So I'm going to give you guys a countdown. I'm really glad you watched Black Christmas. I assume you're talking about the 74 one because there is 2 remakes, 06 and 2019. They're all good. None of them will ever be as good as the original slasher, classic. I just think that has the tone that, can't be replicated. But 06 and 19 are good in their own way. All right, guys, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 20th Century Fox logo, which I always thought looked very wide here. I don't know why, but it just does. It's a shame I'll never get to see that logo again. At least in, my opinion. Now it just looks weird that they kind of erased that a little bit. John McTiernan film. That's how I am on a plane. He actually is taking it way better than me. I can never do that. I'm just petrified the entire flight. I got to take a flight actually at the end of February. First one in a long time. I don't blame him. I mean, Bruce Willis does look like your everyman. They definitely were correct in that assumption when they hired him. Fist with your toes. I'll tell you, I've done it. I don't know if it really is making a difference or not. I mean, you only know it doesn't work one time, I assume. So that's really it. Willis is very unassuming. Yeah, he really is. Like, you wouldn't look at that guy and think a movie star. He just looks like a regular average guy. The 5 o'clock shadow, the slightly balding hair. But he's got that charm to him, and it's in the voice, it's in the eyes. You can see she's like, oh, this guy's pretty handsome. But, nothing special. This lady's got a ridiculous hat on. I love the title card. With the bells, you hear the bells in the background? It always just gets you going, get the big bear. Dun, 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 dun. Right, for Alan Rickman, and we get our first look at Nakatomi Plaza. I love this guy. This guy does a good job acting. I don't know if I really remember him from anything else, but he has that deep voice in this really works for him, especially for his character. Reginald Vell Johnson. What job has a Christmas party on Christmas Eve? There's this and the Santa Claus. I don't understand that. Every job that I've ever worked at, the Christmas party was always held, like a week before. I mean, I guess it's their building. They can do whatever the hell they want. It's a nice looking plaza there, but still, it just doesn't make sense that they have the Christmas party on Christmas Eve. Like, wouldn't you want to go with your family? I mean, she just brought it up. What time is it? I guess it's like 5 o'clock there right now. I mean, in New York by this time, the way it looks like the sun's setting, I guess it would be around 4:30. Hart Botcher or Bondner. This guy. And then, of course, Bonnie Bonilla needs to add 2 inches. It's the 80s, so she throws that hair on. Lucy McClane. You know, all these kids getting their pictures taken at the Sears Portrait Studio. You know, whatever money they're making, they're able to afford both a house and an apartment in the city. So it's impressive. If Die Hard was made, I would cast Tom Hardy, wrote Kevin Kruger. Yeah, you know what? That's honestly probably perfect casting because Tom Hardy is like a chameleon. He really can just lean into whatever role he wants to lean into and get the perfect look down for it. And we know he could pull off that rugged everyman look to him. He can grow whatever beard you need him to grow. You know, he is very handsome, but you can ugly him up a little bit to have him look like the Bruce Willis type at least. Because there really isn't too many working actors today that could fill that Bruce Willis role, that everyman looking role. Like, you know, most actors and actresses are extremely handsome or extremely beautiful. And, you know, none of us, at least, you know, most of us out in the real world don't have that look to them. I mean, look at this girl. Kidding me? And look at that guy. He doesn't deserve that. Jay McClane. He wrote that nice Argyle. Can almost do calligraphy. I love Argyle. Great character. You know, he plays an important role in the movie. I know I've seen people say that he doesn't serve really much of a purpose because he hangs out in the garage, but you know, gets the last laugh at the very end with the other guy. That is a nice limo. This scene looks good in 4K. Uh, I didn't even know you were allowed to sit up front. It's the first time like I ever realized you could just sit up front, I guess, if you ask. So Nakatomi Plaza, the Fox Tower. I would cast Tom Hiddleston as Hans Gruber. You know what, Kevin? That would be great casting too. He's got the wit of a Hans Gruber. But it's crazy to think that Alan Rickman never acted in a film before Die Hard. He was just the Broadway actor. He was 40 years old at the time. So he was, and you see that director of photography, John DeBont, that's the director of Speed and Twister. So it's always funny to me that he's the DP, not, you know, the director of photography on this one, when he ended up making his own basically Die Hard on a Bus movie. And Speed's a great movie as well. Twister I like is also, but you know, Speed's a classic in its own right, especially of the 90s. And again, Christmas song playing right here. But Tom Hiddleston would be great casting, Kevin. I can definitely see that because I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head who could definitely fill that role of Hans Gruber. Alan Rickman, like the way he's moving his face and everything in this movie, it's just all perfect. Joel Silver, producer on this, definitely his kind of movie. Obviously, I think he was a producer on Predator as well. Like that beautiful cobblestone. Uh, he hopes. He hopes. It is some good architecture, I'll tell you that. Nice windows. It's time for the 10. I mean, sunset is beautiful. Again, good architecture. It's got like this haze look to it. Obviously, it's a real building, so that does definitely assist in the look of this movie. It was unfinished at the time. That's why it was perfect for the film. So, they had floors under construction. They just had a couple things that the studio made sure they weren't going to do, and that was like explosions on the inside. So, how they pulled some of the stuff off, I guess it's just movie magic. The lag on that. Uh, he knows. Mrs. Gennaro. Somebody brought this up to me pretty recently. If they're the only ones left in the building, why would he make them check in like that other than just to like make sure he knew somebody? But he's not confirming with anyone on that floor that he's coming up or that he's related to somebody at the party. They're just taking him on his word that he's would know somebody there. Or I guess he's checking in as a guest and maybe he's on the guest list. I'm not entirely sure. What's this guy doing? Looks like he's about to do like a snort ski or something. Again, beautiful architecture, old school cameras over there. Probably taking in some nice black and white. Imagine this is your day at work. You take this guy, then you just hang out and wait for the rest of the time. And it's amazing. They don't really waste any time. We're right into it. With a little bit of setup, but in the 1970s, there'd be like 30 minutes of like build up, but really like we get into it pretty fast. And the green, I mean, it just looks so good on 4K. The range of colors. Like, look at that Christmas tree. That's absolutely gorgeous. The lights shining down. Yeah, it's just a very well lit scene. It looks great on 4K. Beautiful sunset. Like, I love these early shots in the movie. Like before the shit hits the fan. I love this. California, beautiful. Oh, yeah, look at this guy. Good boss. He knows what he's doing. Mr. Takagi. Again, this guy, I really enjoy his small role in this movie as well. Good performance. H.M. Gennaro. Like, how many people's bosses, if they caught him doing coke, is just going to be like, yeah, I get it. It's the Christmas party. Or just going to be cool with it. I guess it's the 80s and everyone's doing coke. Cocaine 80s. I don't know. Look at this guy. It's a nice suit, though. I mean, this guy's a cop, too, so he's just disgusted. Ah. Guy's pretty funny. This guy's a kiss ass. Mm. Up. Love that sting kicks in. Look at him. Who would you cast as the black cop? As the Reginald Val Johnson role? Yeah, Reginald Val Johnson was actually pretty big in the 1980s. Obviously, he's probably most famous for being Carl Winslow on Family Matters, but he had a good role in the movie Canine. I don't know if you guys ever seen that with Jim Belushi and I think Ed O'Neill appears in that as well. That's a good movie. Is it Ed O'Neill? I think it's Ed O'Neill. Yeah, it is Ed O'Neill. But in that role in modern times, Brian Tyree Henry. I think he could pull that off. He's shown great range throughout his life so far, and obviously on Atlanta, but he was great in Bullet Train last year. He's worked on that other FX show that I didn't see, a Class of '09. He's just been great in everything he's been in. He had that movie he did with Jennifer Lawrence last year. It's on Apple. I can't remember the name, but he gave a good performance, and I think he actually got nominated for an Academy Award, which is great because I think he's one of the best working actors today. Very underrated guy. Jason Martin wrote, I'd cast John Boyega. Oh, John Boyega would be a good choice as well, actually. I think he'd be great in that role. John Boyega is a very underrated actor. Most people still just think of him for Star Wars, but he did stuff in the movie. It was a series, Small Axe. He had a role in one of those 5 films that are in that. The Queen of what was that movie that came out last year? The Queen of something, I can't remember. But anyway, he was great in that. He's just been very good, very solid in everything. This year he had a movie come out as well, They Clone Tyrone. He was great in that movie. So it's just a bunch of great performances, but most people just don't realize that he's actually out there still working and giving these kinds of performances. Made some the decisions he's made since Star Wars. Obviously, he's not going to hit the highs of like everybody else. Like Daisy Ridley hasn't really done everything else since Star Wars. Really, she did the one, Murder on the Orient Express, or the first one. I can't even remember what the name of that was. Was it Murder on the Orient Express? Like she was in that, but she hasn't really done too much. Bruce Willis, man, pulling off the old wife beater. Wish I could do that. He does come in a little rough right from the beginning. I would cast Dave Bautista. You know what? Had I not seen Knock at the Cabin this year, I would have said that's a crazy decision. But I love Dave Bautista, and I always thought, okay, he was great in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Obviously, I'm a professional wrestling fan, so I loved him from that. And he did show a little bit of range in Blade Runner 2049. But after Knock at the Cabin, I was like, okay, this guy could do the emotion. He really just gets that aspect of it, and this character calls for that. And the only thing is that he's just so jacked. I mean, I think he could make himself look heavier if they wanted to, if they put the right clothes on him. It'd be hard to believe that he's kind of got that flaw in him, because I just can't see him being weak at all. Like you kind of buy into what Reginald Van Johnson's character is in this movie. You believe that something like that would weaken him to where the point he can't even pull his gun anymore. So Dave Bautista, I think, could portray that. I just don't know if he has the look for that. That's the only thing. And this is it, them pulling up. I always feel bad for the guy running the desk. He doesn't get invited to the party. He's got to be the one guy guarding the door, sitting down here. It's Christmas Eve. I hope they're paying him well, because the poor guy, obviously they're paying, Reginald Vale Johnson pretty well. He's an LAPD cop. This is great. I watch a podcast called The Rewatchables, and they actually looked it up. This game really did happen when he's talking about, which I always think is pretty damn funny. And the score that plays underneath everything is perfect. This guy is also great. That's what I mean. One thing about this movie is that all the side characters work as well. They all play their roles perfectly, and they all play them all differently. Obviously, this guy, he's a great actor in his own way. This guy started out as a ballet dancer. What's his name? Alexander Gunyard or Gutenyard? It's something German, but he's great in The Money Pit as well. He's got that very distinct, handsome look to himself, but he really was going to become one of the, great transitioning to a great actor. He just passed away at such a young age. It's very sad. And there he is. We're about to see our guy, Alan fucking Rickman. Now, Alan Rickman, I believe, is the standout performance in this movie. As great as Bruce Willis is, and Bruce Willis is great in this movie, this movie is stolen by Alan Rickman. Like, he's trying to rob Nakatomi Plaza. He robs this movie right out from everybody. He is phenomenal in this movie. One of my favorite movie villains of all time. When he passed away, I mean, everyone was like saying Snape, and I love the Harry Potter movies, but I mean, Alan Rickman, he's Hans Gruber to me. He'll always be Hans Gruber to me. That's why I can never imagine somebody else in that role. Sean Zapita said, "It's sad that three of the villains have passed." Yeah, it really is, because the other guy had passed. I think it was him within this year. That guy, actually, the one with the glasses. Like, it really is pretty sad. I mean, and it's 1988. Like, it doesn't feel like it's that long ago that this movie was even made. Like, yeah, I get that it's at this point with 35 years ago, but it's still for these guys to have already passed on. It's just really sad. They look so young here, all of them. And I feel like they got this guy because he looks like he would be running a desk. Clean shaven, short hair, middle aged, perfect. Alan Rickman never looked more badass than he does in this movie too. He pulls that beard off perfectly. He looks like he looks like a better version of my wife's boss, actually, every time I see him. Reminds me of that. This guy with these glasses. He looks like Huey Lewis. Yes, he does. He does look like Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis, actually, every time I see Huey Lewis, that's not who I expect Huey Lewis to look like. It's the same thing with Kenny Loggins. Kenny Loggins, like, his voice, for some reason, doesn't match that big, thick beard he always has. I don't know what it is, but I just never thought that. When you see that guy, you're like, that's what he looks like, huh? You just wouldn't expect it. I mean, I guess everyone gets that way with like radio hosts and stuff like that. They're just going by the voice. I don't know how this helps, but I guess I'm happy for him. Fists with your toes. Look at that wallpaper. You think people still carry around pictures in their wallets? Probably not, right? I was really looking forward to that one day, but fortunately it didn't work out. Jason Martin wrote, "I carry a picture of my granddaughter." Oh, that's awesome, Jason. See, at least I'm glad that some people are still doing that. In the modern world with cell phones, you feel like that's where everyone just keeps their, all their pictures. I just didn't know if people actually still kept pictures, because that was one thing. Like, when I was growing, I was hoping to actually have as an adult, because my father always had like just like him, it's like John McClane, like those pictures of our family and everything in his wallet. So I always thought, one day I'll have pictures of my family in my wallet. But as I got older, then cell phones came to be, and whole different thing, whole different world. This always impressed me too, how he cuts right through that like that. It's got to be a strong blade. And Sean wrote, my photos always got ruined over time. Yeah, that's one thing about pictures, especially physical pictures, is that as time goes on, if you don't keep them in like a photo album or something like that, the wear and tear on them is pretty quick and pretty brutal over time. My mom, actually, a couple years ago, she gave me all like the photo albums from her house from when we were younger, and for the most part, they're in all right shape for the ones that are like sealed, but overall, they do just get ruined over time. See, right into the action. Like, how quick are we into the movie? It's only 8:05. It just picks up so fast. What's your favorite line from Die Hard? My favorite line from Die Hard is actually, um, I really like the "Welcome to the party, pal." That's probably still my favorite line in the movie. I mean, I know that's kind of cliche, but I actually really like a look in this movie more than like any line. There's a look that Hans Gruber gives that, like, well, when we get to it, you'll see like where he's kind of looking, and then he like backs up like this, and his eyes go wide. But like that's something in the movie that I always think of. It's actually I think of that look more than I actually think of a line in this movie. But if I had to pick like a favorite line, it would be "Welcome to the party, pal" or Hans Booby. You know, I love that guy too. This guy, it's all coked up the whole time. Of course, he's freaking out. Did you see Biggie the carpet thin? Bingo. Autocorrect. Yeah, no, I figured that. Autocorrect does screw that up. And no, actually, I didn't. I actually haven't seen that. I really I gotta look up what that is. I wonder if I have seen it. Maybe I just don't remember. Biggie the Big Huh. I'll look that up. Oh, this is great. I have to check that out. Ghostbusters 2. Oh, I love Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, Ghostbusters 2 actually, me and Shamrock, aka David, we just shot our video. We're doing a Lethal Weapon review, but our next one's gonna be Ghostbusters 2 because we think it ties in the New Year's. So we're gonna be doing that. Um, but yeah, he is in Ghostbusters 2. Acting barefoot would suck, lol. Yeah, Jason, it would. And actually, Mel Gibson acts barefoot in freaking Lethal Weapon. So I don't know why anyone would want to do that. Character got screwed over. One of the terrorists. Yeah, he really is. Rick Moranis, Canadian lad. Yes, he is. Rick Moranis is one of Canadians' best sons, along with John Candy, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho. I love that this guy has this whole dossier on Mr. Takagi. And he's, you know what? A stand-up guy. He's not going to let anyone else get hurt at his expense. He knows it's his business. He knows that he has to stand up for the people who work under him. See, like my boss would never do this in a million years. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he pointed out me to everybody just because he ain't taking the bullet. Speaking of Rick Moranis, I do think that the first Ghostbusters might be his best performance, actually. As much, I know it's not the biggest role. Obviously, he's like way bigger in so many other movies. He has his own series, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids movies, which I think all three are good, actually. And obviously, then you got Little Giants for like the '90s kids. Little Shop of Horrors is probably very famous for. I love Parenthood. He plays a dick in that, but he's great in that. See, his voice and his look just work perfect. He's just a classy, classy villain, Hans Gruber. This guy right here, also in Lethal Weapon, and he appears in a lot of John Carpenter movies. I always forget his name, the long-haired Asian fella. He's really good. Always, always good. He's also a stunt coordinator, so I'm pretty sure he helped out with the stunts on this, and I know he did on Lethal Weapon. So they usually give him small parts. That's why he usually dies. But he has such a distinct and badass look, that like that long hair. I absolutely love that. Oh, Jason wrote, I'm also watching the Buffalo Bills game. Well, if you wouldn't mind keeping me updated on that, I mean, I'll keep an eye on it too. Obviously, Jets fan here. So you guys have gotten the better end of everything, all the Buffalo Bills. 0-0 right now. This is a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful shot, too. The Bills look like the best team in football right now, speaking of the Bills. Right now, they're on a hot streak. They finally learned how to use the running game and use James Cook. not be so reliant on Josh Allen. He only had 94 passing yards last week, and he still won that game. And the Bills look never more dominant this season. They look like they ironed out all their flaws. Uh, it was definitely an impressive win for them. And if I was anyone else in the AFC, because the AFC really doesn't have a standout team. Everyone, it looks like they have flaws. Even only the NFC with the 49ers. They're the best team in the league. That's the only team I think without a flaw, and even they lost 3 in a row this year. So really the NFL this year wide open. They're looking good right now, Jason Martin. Yeah, they look really, really, really good. If they keep it up, I definitely can see them winning the AFC. You know, Buffalo Bills with the 4 Super Bowls in a row. You just want to see them win one. And I'm from New York. The Jets and Giants play in Jersey. Buffalo, they're the real New York team. We play in the Meadowlands. I respect that, and I understand that. I love this. Who do you sell bearer bonds to? Like, I've never really understood what bearer bonds are and what their purpose is. I know that they're money. You go cash them out at a bank, but like how do you just take that to somebody and say, "Hey, take these bearer bonds. You give me the cash. You go cash these out at a bank." Like, there's no like paper trail with them. I really don't understand bearer bonds. But $640 million, I get that. I definitely get that. Uh, Good looking carpet, by the way. Just want to point that out. Nice wood floors. You could tell they just put it in. Still got a little it's not perfectly flat yet. A little bit of moisture still on there. Again, beautiful architecture. That cobblestone wall. It looks like an iPad holder. Don't ruin the suit. See this guy? He's a stand-up guy, Mr. Takagi. Sean Zapita wrote, 4 villains have passed. Vigo died in 2004. Really? He did? Ah, that's sad. That means most of them are gone. Oh, that's horrible. Thanks for telling me that, Sean. I did not realize he had passed either. That's terrible. Well, this guy's so young. And then Mr. Takagi. So that's one thing about this movie's tone as well. Like, even though like this is very serious, the score doesn't illustrate to us that it's like this very dark moment. Like, everybody in that room's boss just died. He seemed like a great boss that people liked, and he won't be joining them for the rest of his life. We kind of just move past that with like a little joke, and we just accept that just because the movie is telling us like don't get too connected to that character. He's not that kind of character. But we care about John McClane. We care about Holly, and then we'll eventually care about Reginald Vale Johnson. I think that was part of it. He's pretty charming. You want somebody who's like the other 2 guys, the 2 German guys, they seem like they're pretty pissed off all the time. You need somebody with a sense of humor. I couldn't do that. Jason Martin, the Haas are also terrified and lost for words. Yeah, I mean, I would be petrified in real life. Like, if something like this ever happened, like this would be one of the scariest situations, if not the scariest situation you could ever imagine being in. But like just the tone of the movie doesn't tell you like you should be that worried, but yet the action tells you otherwise. It's just that's why Die Hard is one of those perfect movies. Not to mention this movie's over 2 hours long and it's just paced phenomenally. Like there's just no downtime wasted. Everything is important. Like stuff like this could easily be boring. But no, we get what they're doing. moving along, never spending too much time with any of these characters. Again, the architecture, also the look of this movie. Mm, it's got its own vault room. Dun, dun. We hear it very low underneath, but I don't know what symphony this is called, but the one we hear throughout the movie. Sean Zapita wrote, 80s movies are beyond kill without a second thought. Yeah, that is definitely a thing of the 1980s. You're not supposed to linger on these people's deaths. It just happens. Like, if you ever thought death was a part of life, 80s movies know that death is a part of life. They just kill people off just without a thought. Like in Terminator, 17 cops die in that police station that day. They bring it up. It's a tragic thing, but they just wipe them out. People with families. We don't even think about it. Now he's got to tell them what happened. Ah. See, he's so smart, Hans Gruber. In lesser hands, McClane would have been done with these guys way quicker. And like again, that's a real cement floor he's got to run on. So either way, being barefoot, he's got to deal with that, which is terrible. Red Dawn 1984, most violent film made up to that year. Oh yeah, Red Dawn is a brutal, brutal, brutal film. And yeah, you're probably right up till 1984. As far as violent movies go, I guess like all the movies I think of would be probably 84 and on. Like RoboCop's number one for me as far as the most violent movie I've ever seen. Just because that movie you're losing limbs just out of whim all the time. People are melting in acid. I always thought that was definitely the most violent movie I ever saw. Kevin Kruger wrote, is Hans Gruber one of the best movie villains of all time? Sean Peter also wrote, the shirt color change to the green suit. That is also correct. There is some continuity errors in here. Just pay attention to Bruce Willis. So it's hard though. Like that's an impossible task during this. He's got blood all over him, but if you pay attention, there's more blood, less blood sometimes. But yes, Hans Gruber actually, Darth Vader's probably the number one movie villain of all time. It's really hard to like debate that. But Hans Gruber for me, he's the most entertaining. He's probably one of the smartest. He's charming. I would probably say he is, other than Darth Vader, the most famous movie villain of all time. I don't know. He's in my top three because I also count the T-800 as a movie villain. But, acting wise, it's really hard to say that anyone acted better than Alan Rickman does in this movie. Like I said, he steals the movie for me. I'm here more for Alan Rickman than I am for Bruce Willis. And I love Bruce Willis in this movie. So it's for that to even stand up is incredible. It's just one of those guys. I mean, even the guys in the gang, they're all great. These could easily, in lesser movies, and we will see lesser movies with, ripping off Die Hard. That's why Die Hard becomes its own movie trope in itself, Die Hard and whatever, even with Die Hard 2. But the thing is what makes this movie stand out. A, the setting, the lead roles, and then the supporting roles. Most movies wouldn't cast those roles as something special. I think Guillermo del Toro catches that a lot, where, like the secondary characters are just as good as the main characters. Quentin Tarantino obviously puts like pretty good actors. Steven Spielberg, like the big time directors know how to make the Coen brothers are the kings of that, actually. Small roles that, easily could just fade to the background, but you cast the right actor in them and they all of a sudden now are special and memorable. People can just come in for one or two scenes and they can be memorable. And these guys in this movie are 100% memorable. Look at that computer, man. If only they knew. Makes you wonder, what is a vault like in 2023 in a place like this? Like, this is 35 years ago. This is state-of-the-art stuff. You probably have something like this in your building right now, and it's not going to work as well. It's probably very dated. It's gonna fail, I assume. I mean, this building is still there. You can go see, Nakatomi Plaza, Century City, Los Angeles, sunny California. Uh, yeah, at least he's got a California driver's license. Now, would you guys keep the shoes on in this situation? Yeah, I get that they're really small, but you got to get something on those feet. I don't care what. Like rip off the Santa suit and like just wrap it around your foot, something that you're not cutting your feet so bad. Because I just could not imagine the uncomfortability of this all, which I guess really leans into the toughness of John McClane, which is what they're trying to show us. Smart guy. John DeBonnet feels like right out of the opening of Speed with the elevators. Yeah, Elevator Operators Union. Wouldn't be joining us for the rest of his life. Pretty sad about that. Jason Martin wrote, the National Coalition on Television Violence called Red Dawn one of the most violent Hollywood productions ever made, with 134 acts of violence per hour or 2.33 per minute. That is a lot. Oh my God. I didn't even know they calculated things like that. That is absolutely wild. I guess, the subject matter is going to lead to a lot of violence when it comes to Red Dawn, but that is absolutely crazy. I didn't, it's funny because when I think of Red Dawn, it just never pops in my head as one of the most violent movies. I don't know why. I guess just because since 1984, violence in movies is like secondhand, and it's almost like due to like people just being desensitized, it almost is just like a nothing thing. That's why like Dario Argento back in the day was so shocking. But now when you watch that, it's like, it's kind of mild compared to like what we have in modern horror films, and especially with like the rise of like torture porn in the 2000s. We pretty much saw everything. I mean, I feel like most of these films have never left anything on, no stone left unturned. Almost to the point now, like where you just kind of expect certain things in horror films, even at the PG-13 level, and especially in action films. Like, we don't really get too many R-rated action movies anymore. Like, they really want those to be PG-13 because I guess you don't need the blood and gore. But I really always appreciated that. And Jason just wrote, I was 12 when Red Dog came out, debuted in August of 84. Blew my mind. Yeah, I imagine seeing that in 84 would just be incredible. It definitely would be. And it's funny that you saw that in 84. That's the same year as Ghostbusters and Terminator. So a lot of movies that really kind of changed the perspective on film. Gremlins came out that year as well. Like 84 was a good year, great year for film, and you got to experience that at the time in the moment. That's awesome. I can only dream about things like that. I would love to be there like when Terminator was in theaters. First film 4K film I bought. Really? That was the first one. I actually didn't even get to do that review here on the channel. Matt did Red Dawn. I remember that because it was actually kind of a big deal for us because that was the first time we ever caught like a printing error. So we were like excited that we kind of like discovered one that has Adobe Atmos track on it without actually putting the Adobe Atmos logo on it. And now as the years have gone on, I've realized that Shout Factory and Scream Factory make that mistake a lot. So you have to always check the actual disc for the right audio track because you never know for sure. Printing errors do happen. But that's what I remember about Red Dawn's 4K. So that's pretty funny. I actually don't even own that one, to be honest. Oh yeah, the Atmos print error, Jason wrote. Yeah, like that was just a big deal. I just remember that so well at the time when it happened. And Matt, I saw it because Matt has the 4K, but like when we were doing it as far as reviews, we were splitting them up at the time. and he got to do that one. So I got to only watch it after the review, and I just remember being excited about that Atmos error. Not because it was an Atmos error, just the fact that we kind of caught it, and we thought that was going to be like one of the big things to help get our name out there. But we realized that printing errors aren't really a big deal. It does happen. It's understandable. We all can't be perfect. Always reminds me of Lloyd Christmas. How many? Imagine landing a helicopter on a roof, having a private helicopter. That'd be something. Rooftop view is awesome here. Oh yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. It's incredible. And again, it's a real shot on top roof of a real building. It is incredible. Overlooking sunny Los Angeles like this. Absolutely love that. I feel like they handled this situation poorly, these police officers. Like, she's like just blowing them off right away. Like, no. You get somebody down there and you would get a couple people and have them search and check each other's work. He sounds very worried. What's the worst thing that happens? Nothing is wrong? That's good. Also, that yellow wire. I know. What does that do? An FCC violation. I love this. This is our first look at Reginald Van Johnson. Watch what this guy says to him. Look at this slob. Look at his hair, his mustache, and he's making fat jokes about this guy. Like, I feel like that's an understanding between two fat guys. Like, you don't make fun of the other fat guy for being fat if you're fat too. It just doesn't work that way. Unless you have like a mutual understanding between the two of you. Always love these cop cars too. Kevin Kruger wrote, "Who would win in a fight, John McClane or John Wick?" It's not really fair. John Wick is a trained assassin, and he's the best at it. So he's not only the best at what he does in his field, but that field is the best at killing. So even a bad assassin's probably going to be better than John McClane. Now the thing is with John McClane is his resiliency. Like, he's versing people here who do have training, maybe not as good as John Wick, but they are trained hitmen in a way. So he does hold up a good fight. It's really just him versus all of them. But John Wick, I feel like, is just way too strong. It's not going to be fair. And it's going to embarrass John McClane, in my opinion. It won't even be that close of a fight. I wish it were. Look at the gas price. I try not to. It makes me sick, Jason. First place I'm going if we ever get a time machine. I'm going to get a few tanks of gas. Jason Marjan's firing from the hip. What a waste of ammunition. He really is. But I'm just assuming because he's just shooting off his back foot. He's worried. He doesn't want to get hit at all himself. So he's like, these guys honestly do have the advantage, but they just weren't prepared for this, I feel like. So they were a little bit surprised. So that's the only reason they're not really able to get the jump on John. And again, no shoes. Incredible work here. These guys waste a lot of bullets, though, too. But they definitely have more ammunition. John's just picking up other people's guns. He's got nothing. The pit. Like, I guess it's because it's 1988, but, like, what's the point of setting that up in there? Like, you're only there for a few months while you set this room up. Did they think it was funny? That elevator shaft would scare the absolute hell out of me. See, he does think on his feet. That's the thing about John McClane. He really knows how to adapt to whatever situation he's in. Obviously, like, he's got to have that nerves and the fear in him, but he seems to be able to handle it very, very well. I think that does give him an advantage, and I think that's why, like, a lot of these guys just weren't prepared for this sort of thing. Uh, I would not trust this either. Like, it's a great idea, but so much can go wrong here, and that is a big, big, big fall. We got 2 inches on each side. Like, I wouldn't be able to. But I'm also not John McClane, so we know this wouldn't work out for me. Yeah, not doing it. No, Jason, there's no way you're doing this. I mean, I guess love that. He's pissed off. He's like, "No, I'm not listening to this guy. My brother is dead. I'm not happy." Uh Alexander Gutenov. That stock is retractable. Yeah, not doing this. Like, it's he got really, really lucky in this situation that he basically didn't get hurt. Uh, and he got really lucky to grab one of those vents. The claustrophobia would be way too hard for me in this situation, though. This is a great line too, though. Come out to the coast, have a few laughs. This is a great line as well. That's that like that is a New York thing to be sarcastic and just make jokes out of every situation. It's a flaw I have as well. Hey, like, what are you doing, girl? Watch Die Hard with me? TV dinners are absolutely disgusting. I've never had one that I've ever liked. I only like the melted brownies. And it's really just because I'm pretty sure it's just a shot of sugar. Even with these headphones, yeah, the audio track sounds great. Did a good job on the mix on this. Yeah, petrified. This is great use of tension combined with the score. Of course, classic movie cliche. Right at the very last second, they cut away. All right, I'm going to be back real quick, 30 seconds at most. Back, guys. This is a crazy scene. Imagine a body falling on you. What movie are we watching next month? So me and Kevin actually were talking about this yesterday, and the way we're going to plan next month is we'll let every channel member pick what movie they want to watch, and then we'll put that movie on a magic wheel and we'll spin it like we do with the giveaways, and that's the way we'll decide next month's movie watch along. So that way the members get to interact a little bit more and gives them something else to pick. And any movie you guys want to watch, then we'll put it on the wheel, and that'll be next month's watch along, whatever it may be. So I was trying to think on my own what we could do, because January, I think winter movies. Groundhog Day is a good option. That was one I kind of but I was like, that's probably like February, because I think that's one of the best ones. So that would be perfect. So yeah, that's how we're gonna do next month's watch along. So once we hit January, probably maybe like right at the beginning of the month, if you guys want to send me in what movies you guys want on the wheel, and then we'll spin it, and then we'll schedule it sometime to the middle to the end of January. I gotta see. I know there's a Saturday in January where I have to do something. I think it's the only Saturday night I can't. I don't remember what weekend it was though. Think it's the off weekend of I go around the NFL playoffs. I know there's the 2 weeks in between. It's the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship games. So, you know, that's what I'll be doing then. Speaking of which, I love this time of the year when we get some Saturday football. We'll probably get more people watching along next month. This month, I figured tonight people probably had Christmas parties. You know, a lot of people have their company Christmas parties this time of the year. Still get some like family. It's Saturday night. Christmas Eve being tomorrow. Christmas in 2 days. A lot of people doing Christmas things this time of the year at this time. But for me, watching movies still not only a Christmas tradition, but just a year-round tradition. All that changes on the movies. And he is great in this movie, Reginald Van Johnson. Vale Johnson. Sometimes I say Van. I don't know why. It's a mistake on my part. A smart decision saves his life. I still can't believe this movie had mixed reviews at the time. I just don't understand how. There's not many movies that are just about 5 stars. This is a 5-star movie. Like even that, playing with our expectations. We just hear the gunfire. We don't know for sure who's firing the gun. We don't think that it would be John McClane getting shot, but they play with our expectations there. And this guy. And then you got no place to go. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Now we know he doesn't fire his gun, but what would happen if he pulled somebody over and they started shooting at him? Yeah. Welcome to the party, pal. Perfect. Argyle's enjoying his night. Getting paid at the office, hanging out. Ugh. Yeah, it's about how that goes. Terrible. Here's the douche from Ghostbusters. I love that this movie gets like basically the two biggest 80s villains. You get the guy from Ghostbusters, like the two biggest assholes. You get the guy from Ghostbusters, and then you get the guy from the Breakfast Club. Love it. That's coming out of his pension, Sean wrote. Yeah, they already probably don't like him, as you could tell. And then they're like, you wrecked a police car? Why didn't you stop it? It's a union job, so they would do that. uh, in fact, it's necessary. I love that he was so smart and so ahead of him. Kevin wrote, "Do you know when Killers of the Flower Moon is coming to 4K?" So I know that we're getting an Italian 4K release, I believe in January, which makes me believe that we will get the US release sometime in. I'm gonna say it's gonna be like April is my best guess because it hasn't been put on Apple yet. Right now, you can just rent it to watch. I don't know, understand why. The movie was co-financed with Paramount, so more than likely Paramount will put out the 4K Blu-ray. Although the last movie was put out, that Martin Scorsese, The Irishman, was put out by the Criterion Collection, but I think that was more of a Netflix relationship. So I think that Paramount will do the 4K Blu-ray for Kills the Flower Moon. Obviously, if they have the scan already, it's just a matter of packaging and distribution rights. I think that's the only thing that's holding that up. So I think that eventually we'll get that. I just think it'll be around April. That's my best guess, but there is no confirmation yet about it actually when it will be released in any other region but Italy at the moment. But it's weird that they haven't even announced an Apple release date for that and Napoleon. I don't understand the strategy. I think it's just to get rentals up for, right now you can rent it on, Apple TV as just a rental. Like you can rent it from Amazon, anywhere you can rent, just the digital, 48-hour watch. So I think they're just trying to get those out before they announce the Apple stream. And then when the Apple stream's announced, we'll probably find out about the physical release. I just can't imagine them not doing that because it was just like leaving money on the table. Although, has Apple ever had a physical release of any of their films? Like, they have a Best Picture winner in Coda, and I know that movie hasn't been released physically in the U.S., so I'm very curious. But, obviously, that Kills the Flower movie is co-financed with Paramount, so Paramount does good transfer that is. This guy looks better with a beard. Without the beard, he looks a little strange. Something's off. You're going to get fired for that. Harvey wants to go beat the shit out of this guy. He's like, "You don't talk to me like that. I'm the head anchor." That girl is Richard Donner's wife. She's also the psychiatrist in Lethal Weapon because Richard Donner directed that. What is the most disappointing movie of 2023? Kevin wrote. Oh, most disappointing. What movie really let me down this year? Insidious Red Door was good, but I actually had higher expectations for that. I don't know why, but that one was kind of disappointing. It was a good movie. Really, any superhero movie not called Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse really was a very huge disappointment for me. What other movies I was like overhyped for? Trying to go through all the movies I saw this year in my head. Still got to catch up. I saw Maestro and The Iron Claw this weekend, and surprisingly, Maestro was the better of those two movies, and I really liked The Iron Claw. So both of those movies did not disappoint me. Saltburn I saw is on Prime Video. I can watch that. But what other movie disappointed me this year? I've been pretty lucky. For the most part, I was like surprised more than anything of a movie than being let down. Nothing really, really was like something. I guess I just had higher expectations for certain movies, but I don't really remember anything being a complete and utter letdown. Like I said, the second Shazam movie came out early this year, and I really liked the first Shazam, and that one let me down. But the DCEU in general was just a very disappointing year. The Flash felt like they kind of wasted Batman in that movie. So I really just felt like all the superhero movies not called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse really let me down this year. But other than that, like for the most part, horror movies this year are kind of a letdown, I would say. Silent Night, that was disappointing. I really thought that movie was going to be in line like with Face Off. I thought we were getting a cheesy, over the top John Woo movie, and we just did not get that this year. So that was very, very disappointing. Jason Martin wrote, anyone been tempted to watch The Abyss on 4K digital? I've thought about it, but I'm ultimately going away. Jason, I go back and forth with that, True Lies and Aliens, just to see what the scans look like. And I don't know if you guys are like on social media. Like I'm on social media just because like I promote the videos. So like, I'm also talking to other people on there, and the talk around True Lies 4K scan is bad. Like people are upset about it. Like there's apparently a ton of DNR. There's good, from what I'm hearing, there's good things said about the Abyss and the Aliens. The transfer people are mixed, but people hate the True Lies transfer. They are just upset about it. I'm trying to get across to people, we're just seeing the streams right now. It's gonna look better on disc. I mean, if it's got DNR, obviously that's gonna still look bad on the disc, but maybe other aspects will cover that up in a way. But we haven't had True Lies on 4K. We didn't even have it on Blu-ray. So the last time we had True Lies and The Abyss was on DVD. So regardless to own it physically, even with DNR, as long right now we have is terrible. So we are still going to get an upgrade regardless of how bad it looks. It's just, we'll probably be disappointed. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. If we're lucky, it won't happen. But unfortunately, from what I'm seeing and hearing from everybody who's bought these digital streams, they're not good. Only for True Lies. Like I've heard good things about The Abyss, which is the one I'm most excited about because The Abyss is one of my favorite James Cameron movies. Another guy, this guy plus his name, Paul Gleason. Great movie, douchebag. But yeah, I'm really excited to get them all, but I can't buy them digitally. But I just can't justify it. As much as I want them, I kind of don't want to spoil it. I want to just get them all, take them out of the package, just get that feeling. And I like that they're available, but I can build the anticipation. So I am excited about them. It's just I'm really, really worried about True Lies. I really hope it's not as bad as what people are saying. I'm hoping that, when we see it for ourselves, it's not as bad. So let's just hope. Let's have our fingers crossed. Gleason is dead now, too. Obviously loved him in Breakfast Club. Yeah, that'll always be his standout performance, but he always was playing a great dick. Gleason was always awesome at it, and he also had no problem spoofing it. He was just always game. He just seemed like, obviously he's just most known for playing like just a regular old-fashioned movie dick, but he was great at it. And yeah, the Breakfast Club, he was born to play that role. He's perfect for it. That's why I think it's funny you get him and the guy from Ghostbusters in this movie. It's just, perfect combination of the two of them. Just asshole on asshole. She's great too. Bonnie Benelia, I'm sorry. I love that right behind him are the pictures and he doesn't realize. It's a great foreshadow. He's not an unreasonable man. Oh, they show us that too. The foreshadowing right on the head. When do you think Best Buy will have crazy sales to hell out of their stock? So, Kevin, I actually went to Best Buy today. I had to go in there and pick up a last-minute Christmas gift for my brother-in-law. And right now, NBA 2K is on sale for $35 for the Kobe Bryant edition. So I popped in there my way back from the Iron Claw. So I thought, okay, I'm here. I'm going to check out the Blu-ray and 4K section. And my God, it was blown out. They had nothing. I was just there last week too because of the $10 steelbook sets that came out. I actually have one sitting right here because I'm going to review it. Cinderella. I grabbed that with the new scan, $10. So why not? And grabbed that. But this week, they have not stocked at all in the last week. It just whatever was sitting there was the same stuff that was sitting there last week. If they sold out of it, they sold out of it. I mean, I'm talking nothing. None of like the shippers. Everything was blown out. Like just one or two 4Ks just sitting in random spots. So I mean, from what I'm understanding is like January. There's no pre-orders being taken after January. I have my last pre-order in for the end of the month with the Conan Chronicles. That's the next thing I'll be getting, and the last thing I'll probably be getting from Best Buy because it doesn't look like we'll be able to get anything after that. So my guess is maybe towards the end of this month they'll have some sort of big blowout sale for whatever they have left in stock. So it'll be very limited options. And from what I saw today, in store physically, it's already just getting it's just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. If you saw what I saw, like there was a whole rack of stuff that was just thrown on there. Like it looked like you ever gone to like a TJ Maxx? I don't know if you guys have those where you are, but they don't even like really bother separating them into sections or putting price tags on them. They just kind of throw them on the shelves and like just like hey, have at it. That's what it looked like in Best Buy today. So I was pretty disappointed by that. But so my guess is that it'll probably be at sometime at the end of January and then or early February. But it does look like we're at the end. Saying our final goodbyes, say goodbye to Best Buy and everything that they've done for physical media and how they, had that heel turn at the end of it. But well, we'll still have the memories. Mm-hmm. And Reginald Van Johnson is just fantastic in this movie. Hi, Lele. What are you doing, girl? You okay? Huh? You're on YouTube. You don't even realize. Good girl. All right, I see you. Well, I think that's real granite. Hi, Obi. Jason Martinrow. John is taking a big risk smoking a cigarette. It could give his position away. Yeah, it's the 1980s, and he needs that cigarette. It's just so funny that that's just how smokers are, man. It doesn't matter what the situation is. That cigarette's gonna calm them down. He is taking a pretty ballsy risk, though. I'll tell you though, after watching Maestro and seeing Bradley Cooper play Leonard Bernstein, it kind of made me want to take up smoking cigarettes because I was like, wow, the guy made it look cool. And Bruce Willis, John McClane, it does look badass. Just terrible for you. And it sticks to your clothes. This guy, love this guy. I always notice the crunch bars in this situation. The 1980s, back when cigarettes and cheeseburgers were good for you. LOL, Jason. Yeah, I actually, when I was watching the Iron Claw today, they were eating cheeseburgers and driving, and I had to have a burger for dinner, so I made burgers. But yeah, they really, it just turns out that nothing's good for you. Unfortunately, that's just what the world tells us. Anything that you enjoy is pretty much bad for you, and that includes smoking cigarettes, anything that tastes good. But back in the 80s, no one cared about that. If you were smoking cigarettes, you were the coolest guy in the room. I mean, I know my mother loves cigarettes, still does. You think Argyle, just before cell phones, Argyle's just like literally waiting, and he has no idea exactly when McClane's coming out, like nothing. He's just got to sit there and wait. He does actually have a cell phone in the back of his car, but he has no way to actually call John. Well, at this time. Because they do actually communicate well. Standard 2x2 cover formation. Jason wrote, I still have a foam clamshell from McDonald's for a quarter pounder with cheese. Really? You held on to those old styrofoam containers? In my opinion, that's when McDonald's started the nosedive, is when they got rid of the styrofoam containers. When I used to be able to get my hot cakes and like that. It's just not the same with the plastic pull off top. It just doesn't work for me like it used to. But yeah, that's like soda coming in the glass bottle. It's just different. It's just different. I can't believe you kept one, Jason. That's so awesome. Kevin Kruger wrote, better action star, Tom Cruise or Bruce Willis? I mean, if you asked me before the resurgence of the Mission Impossible series, I would have said Bruce Willis. But the fact that this guy is still doing this, Tom Cruise, it's got to go to him. I mean, he started doing action movies in the 1980s with Top Gun, and he literally just had another Mission Impossible movie come out in 2023 while he's in his 60s. So he is the better action movie star. And Bruce Willis, though, I mean, Tom Cruise, I guess, is the better actor too, right? But Bruce Willis is good in his own way. I just don't think it's fair. It's just not too many people who compare to Tom Cruise. Like, yeah, he doesn't have the look of an action star, but nobody pulls off action like Tom Cruise. No one runs like Tom Cruise, except for maybe Mel Gibson. But you believe it with Tom Cruise. Bruce Willis, in his own right, he had the window of time. Like in the 90s, he was one of the best action stars ever. And then even through the 2000s, I guess he had it. Like he did, when was Cop out? Like '07? And then he was doing up to 16 blocks. So I guess, it was a bunch of stuff that he was still dabbling around with. I agree. Cruise all the way, wrote Sean. Jason Martin wrote Tom Cruise. If you saw him taps in 1988, knew he was going to be a star. Yeah, I always was curious how it was when people were perceiving him on his rise in the 1980s. Like, like did people just know that this guy was going to be huge? Like I know like Risky Business is considered like his first big movie, and then that's only a couple years before like movies like Legend or before Top Gun really made him a star, the Color of Money. And then like from that point on, I assumed Tom Cruise was just Tom Cruise. And then Rain Man was like big actor Tom Cruise shooting for the Academy Awards, born on the 4th of July. And it's just Tom Cruise is really going to end up being one of the, like at least one of the most known actors of all time when it's all said and done and we look back at the history of Hollywood. Still think he's the last guy who could sell a movie on name value alone. And even that doesn't necessarily work all the time. But it's no more of the splash Tom Cruise. It's just not, no one does that. Like, as much as I like Timothy Chalamet, I don't think Timothy Chalamet sold Wonka. I think Wonka sold Wonka. The name and people's connection to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or even the Roald Dahl novel Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't think Timothy Chalamet sells that movie. I don't think Timothy Chalamet sells Dune. There's just no actors I feel like that could sell as much. And even my favorite actress, I love Emma Stone. Does she sell Poor Things? I don't know. I just don't know if the actors can draw the crowds anymore. I just don't think names do that. There was a time when actors like Bruce Willis could just sell a movie. It's a Bruce Willis movie. We're going to see that movie this weekend. Nowadays, totally different game. I mean, Alan Rickman, I guess, never really was a household name enough to sell the movies. You just knew that he was a great actor. Even like in Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Like, he's good in that. Actually, I was listening to a podcast about that, and they said apparently they asked him to like tone it back because he was overshadowing Kevin Costner. Because Kevin Costner was apparently really burnt out from JFK and Dances with Wolves. Kevin Kruger, I think Ryan Reynolds can sell a movie. You know what? That's actually probably a really good point. Ryan Reynolds had a career resurgence when they got to Deadpool. I mean, he was just perfect. That literally, like when you say an actor is born to play a role, Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. I just could not like, and I loved Ryan Reynolds. Like I was a big Van Wilder fan. I'm a big fan of the movie Waiting. I just always thought the guy was funny. It's when they tried to throw him in dramatic stuff or, wow, that sounds loud, or tried to make him an action star in movies like Safe House. I don't think it worked. But once he found his lane and had that resurgence with Deadpool, like I think he is a guy who could definitely sell a movie. What was that movie he did a couple of years ago? It did very well. Free Guy. Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I think Ryan Reynolds is a guy who could probably definitely sell a movie nowadays. And plus he just seems like a genuinely good guy, right? Another Canadian. He just seems like a regular, like down to earth, humble person. I love his relationship with Rob McElhenney of Always Sunny fame. He seems like a great guy. Jason Martin wrote, I think the internet changed everything. Films, TV. Sean Zeppeter wrote, he's great and Quigley. Yes, you're right. Yeah, the internet. I honestly, my personal belief is that the internet, and hey, I do YouTube on the internet, so obviously I love it. But I don't know if I can honestly say it changed the world for the better. I think we could probably say now safely it's like more of a negative. It's just the way we perceive things are just so different now. It's like it was just simpler back then. Like when I was growing up, you didn't have as many options when it came to TV and film. If you stayed home from school, what was on was what was on. If it's the 700th time you've seen Con Air on TNT, guess what? You're going to have a great time watching Con Air again. It's just the way it was. You went to Blockbuster, you had your choices of what was in there. You went to a video store, you had a choice of what was in there. Unless you subscribed to a magazine, you really didn't get people talking about film. That's why people watch Siskel and Ebert, is because they were the critics, like or you read your local newspaper and you read what their reviews of the film were. So like it was just a different time. Like now, if you want to get a review, if it doesn't even have to just be movies, if you want a review of anything. Like if I don't go to a restaurant without reading a review because I don't want to waste my money. So yeah, the internet definitely is changed thing. It's just I'll never know if it's for better or worse. I guess the jury's still out on that one. Love Argyle. Paul Gleason, though, he is great in this movie. You just can't deny how good he is. And then, of course, Reginald. What do you think Arnold and Sylvester were thinking in 1988 and this movie became a mega hit? Do you think they thought, fuck, I wasted a lot of time in the gym? This guy's still snorting coke. Ugh. You gotta have somebody overly confident, cocky in this situation. Of course, it's the cokehead. This guy never had a chance. All right. And Jason wrote, Coke does that to some people. LOL. Yeah. Unfortunately, it makes them into overly cocky, confident, arrogant bastards like this guy. Huh. It's a little bit your business. It just Hans isn't worried about the sky at all, and the fact that he thinks he's in control of the situation, it's just ridiculous. He doesn't even. He's so stupid. And John figures it out immediately how he doesn't have the upper hand in the situation at all. Booby, I'm your white knight. Of course you are. Kevin Kruger, what was Bruce Willis' last great movie? That's a good question. Let's see what he'd done before he recently retired. Because he did a lot of direct to video stuff for a long time towards the end there. I guess, off the top of my head, it was cool to see him in Glass. It wasn't a great movie, but it was cool to see him reprise that role again. And I can tell you, I was excited as hell at the end of Split when he popped up. So, because he really wasn't around for a long time. So let's just go back. He was in 2 movies this year. Did you guys know that? Assassin and Detective Night Independence. He also was in Detective Night Redemption in 22. Detective Night Rogue, Paradise City, Wire Room, Wrong Place, White Elephant, Vendetta, Fortress, Sniper's Eye, Corrective Measures, A Day to Die, Gasoline Alley, and American Siege. That was all 2022. 21, Fortness, Deadlock, Apex, Survive the Game, Midnight in the Switch Glass, Out of Death, Comic Sin, 21. 3 movies in 20, Survive the Night, Hard Kill, and Breach. 2019, Trauma Center, 10 Minutes Gone, Between Two Ferns, the movie. That movie's hysterical. Motherless Brooklyn, forgot he even did anything in that. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, Glass, so it looks like Glass is probably the last one. Airstrike, Reprisal, Death Wish for 2018, Acts of Violence, First Kill, Once a Time in Venice, Split. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here from the 2000s. Sin City, a Dame to Kill For, Red 2, A Good Day to Die Hard was 13. That movie was, I didn't like that movie at all. Here it is. This is the answer. 2012's Looper, directed by Ryan Johnson. That is his last great performance. And him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt share the role. So that's perfect. And I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Actually has the Bruce Willis chin on as well. So that's definitely what it was. Because that's something. So the Sixth Sense, Jason Martin, that you said that's his last one. Looper was good. So yeah, definitely like the Sixth Sense is probably his last. Like, although I would say Unbreakable is almost as popular, but the Sixth Sense is one of those like cornerstone Bruce Willis movies. You got that, Pulp Fiction, Die Hard. Like those are the movies that he's most known for throughout his career. Um, what else is he in? That's probably one of those four cornerstone movies that you would say, hey, that's what Bruce Willis carried. The Coke. Ironic. Funny that the Cokes nowadays look exactly the same. Uh, yeah, throw that thumbs up, buddy. You're handling the situation great. Overly confident. Mm. Uh, tries to save Alice. Uh, uh, Kevin Kruger wrote, "Did you like him in Pulp Fiction?" I loved him in Pulp Fiction, Kevin. I really thought he was fantastic. The girl who plays his girlfriend in that movie, she's the worst part of Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction's my second favorite movie of all time, but I think he's great, honestly. It's one of my personal favorite Bruce Willis roles, but I'm a little biased because I love the movie. But I do think he is fantastic and that his segment is perfect, obviously, just coming off the Christopher Walken section, the watch in his ass scene. But Bruce Willis gives a phenomenal performance in that movie. Really, it's a great actor's performance, and he's got to be in the scene with the Gimp. I just seen that spoof by The Simpsons. Absolutely love him in Pulp Fiction. And Jason Martin actually wrote, I remember New Coke. The controversy was something else. I've actually seen videos on the New Coke controversy and how people were pissed. And that's funny because when I first found out that New Coke existed because of my age, that explained why Coke cans had the term classic Coca-Cola on it because apparently that's just what they call the original recipe. So that's pretty freaking wild that New Coke caused that much of a problem. I don't know if I've ever had New Coke because I've always been alive since I was like discontinued. Do people like it? I'm very curious. Willis in Pulp Fiction is my favorite role for him, Jason Martin role. You know, I would say that the only reason I probably still give the edge to Die Hard is because Die Hard is his movie. Pulp Fiction, it's very much it's an ensemble cast. And if I had to say somebody won that movie, I can't pick anybody over Samuel L. Jackson as Jules. And Travolta, that's my favorite Travolta movie, but I'm also not the biggest John Travolta fan. So, of course, I love him as Vincent. But Samuel L. Jackson in that movie, it's special. That role is special. I cannot imagine anyone else playing that role, even though the guy who plays Paul, and it's between you all, the guy at the bar, the bartender, that guy was originally supposed to be Sam. Well, he wasn't originally. He just nailed his audition because Samuel L. Jackson followed it in because he thought the role was his. But it's funny that guy was almost Jules if Samuel Jackson didn't come back and just nail his audition. But yeah, Bruce Willis is great in Pulp Fiction too. Sean Zabita wrote, I actually can remember liking New Coat. Sean wrote, really? So I'm very curious. I would like to try it. I love Coca-Cola. Like I don't really drink soda that much anymore, but when I do eventually, if ever, I splurge, like at the movies today, I got Coke Zero Sugar, cherry vanilla flavored. Like it's always Coke. I think they're better than Pepsi. Not that Pepsi's bad, but I'm a Coke guy. Not Coke like Ellis likes, but Coca-Cola. Poor Ellis. Didn't realize he was getting screwed over. 2 hours. Coke should bring it back for a short run. It would sell, Jason Martin. It would, because what was it? 2 years ago, they brought back clear Pepsi, and people loved it just for the nostalgia thing. It's just that's just the thing. If you can bring back things for a nostalgia run, don't let them overstay their welcome. People will consume that. They'll actually love it. You just can't let that last too long because that fresh flavor does kind of go away. Even the nostalgic feelings, you kind of get it once, and then it's kind of like over with, and then you like realize like it's still not as good as this. Or it's why like I always wanted to open up like a video store but I just know that like people will come in initially, but then eventually that fun factor, those nostalgic feelings will wear off, that it's probably not a great business investment. But the times we live in, video stores just came and went so fast, but they really were a trip. They were great. I loved them. This is a great scene, which they actually replicated when I was watching Violent Night last night. I was rewatched David Harbour and the little girl replicate this whole scene with basically of these two talking to each other. Love it. Jason Mark, give me a Pepsi free line from Back to the Future was a good line. Give me a Pepsi free line from Back to the Future was a good line. It was. I actually thought that was a good line. You could tell that Pepsi had a big stock in Back to the Future. Back to the Future 2. The only thing that I really don't like about Back to the Future 2 is like I just feel like that one. I actually prefer 3 over 2. Is that weird? I know that most people would probably say that the second one's better than the third one. It has like fantastic stuff in it, but the elements of the future are what I love most about that movie. But the overall plot line and the story of the film doesn't work as well as it does for me with 3. I think 3 tells a more compelling story. And I actually kind of think the Western element is fun. Maybe it's my biasness because I like Westerns, but I think 3 is a better one. Obviously, none of them come close to Back to the Future 1. That's a time traveling classic film. Mm-hmm. Perfect cop suit, by the way. Looks like an old, worn out suit. FBI's here. Here's where we get Mr. Johnson and Johnson. No relation. He is great. This guy's perfect in their roles. Oh, this is perfect too. Say it again. The 4K for this is just phenomenal. And Sean wrote, the cop who informed that the FBI is here is also in Die Hard 3. Oh, shit. You know what? You're right. I had to rewatch Die Hard 3. I haven't watched that one in years, and that's definitely the second best Die Hard movie. But I did not realize that. Well, at least not by looking at it. That's crazy. Yeah, you think you put that back together, Hans? I guess that would make sense. He relocated to New York. Look at that dirty shirt. What do you guys think of his American accent here? I think it kind of reminds me a little bit of Benjamin Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange accent a little bit. Shirt back to white. Yeah, that's the one thing. If you look at the shirt, that'll give you the biggest continuity errors, and they knew it. Like if you ever watch documentaries or interviews, they're like that was the hardest thing, like to maintain the look of the shirt throughout the entire thing. That's somebody's job, if not multiple people's job on set, is to retain the continuity so that things don't look out of place. People mostly don't look for that. It's mostly just revealed to you in multiple viewings, but it is always funny if you pay attention to those small details. You will see some errors just because it's almost unavoidable. This is supposed to take place literally over the course of one night, so obviously things aren't supposed to change that much. So this is one of the harder films to remain continuity, like connected wise. But I think they do an overall good job. But the shirt really is just a dead giveaway if you watch the shirt through the whole movie. Sean wrote, how hard is it to order white shirts over green? Yeah, somebody screwed up on that part. I don't know who it was, but they probably, I'm going to guess, were more than likely like, we're about ready to go. And they probably thought nobody's going to notice this minor difference. Maybe they didn't think the movie was going to be that big. I'm sure they didn't think in 2023 people would be looking at it like that. But I guess, time goes on. The cigarettes he's going to offer. He's so nice to offer one of his last two. Maybe reshoots. That's also possible, Sean. Kevin Kruger wrote, do you think Hans Gruber has the most iconic death scene of all time? Of all time, of any death scene ever?
It's definitely the one that gets talked about the most. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of a more memorable one that like really like surprised me. I'd have to put some thought into it. But what makes that there's also the story behind the death scene of how they what's it called? How they dropped him on two without telling him, and that the real shock on his face is his real surprise in the sense that of how he didn't know he was going to get dropped there. So I think that is pretty damn surprising, and it is one of my favorite death scenes. Plus, they follow him to the ground, so we know he's dead. And Jason Martin wrote, CGI was a limited use back then too. Oh yeah, which I think is a good thing. Um, and then Jason Martin also wrote, sometimes mistakes are made on purpose in films just for fun, and that's something that I absolutely love. I'm a big more of hey Obi. I'm a bigger fan of practical effects always over CGI. I don't think it's necessary. I think that, if you can do something practically, even if it looks worse than what you think CGI is going to look like, unless it's Avatar 2, because I might not be the biggest Avatar fan, but the CGI in Avatar 2 is breathtaking. But for the most part, anything practical, I don't care if it looks fake at points. I still would prefer that fakeness over a CGI green screen background where I just know they're not acting in front of something. If they're acting in front of something, I would still prefer that. At the beginning of Lethal Weapon, I know that the body is hitting an airbag at the top of a car. I don't care. I still would prefer that over a CGI car. I just think that that looks more real, and I just feel like it just makes the actors' reactions more realistic. So I've always been very anti CGI, and I get that that would clean up these continuity errors, but I still would prefer them. It's just I prefer that. I do think they're fun to look for as well. So, I get that. So I agree with you, Jason. Sometimes mistakes just make it more fun. What are you doing, huh? You guys are getting attention. Okay, relax. Don't knock that down, okay? Don't lock that down. I have to do something. All right? I understand. You guys can't be crazy, though. You're going to knock something down. And if you do that, that's not going to be good. Dogs. Practical effects are more expensive. It's why Hollywood relies on CGI. Yeah, I understand that aspect, and I'm sure it's just 10 times harder to like make it work. You got to hire a special effects guy, and if something isn't working that day, you got to like not be able to shoot. I get the convenience of the whole thing. It's just I really do feel like it does hurt modern film in a bad way, in the worst way. I just mean like Quantum Mania from this year, that CGI was horrible. And to make things worse, that's on the short list of best special effects at the Oscars this year, which explain that to me. How is that one of the best special effects? Like if Oppenheimer doesn't win in all the below the line categories, even though Maestro from a cinematography standpoint is breathtaking, and I also really enjoyed the killer cinematography, but Oppenheimer, I really think in 2023 that is going to be the movie we look back on as one of those special all-time greats. There's a lot of great movies this year. Like I'm telling you right now, I'm really high on Maestro. I do think it's very flawed though. But right now, I'm like really into that movie. But I don't know if that's the kind of movie in 5 years we'll be talking about. While Oppenheimer, I know in 5 years we'll be talking about Oppenheimer. We'll be talking about Oppenheimer like we talk about Die Hard, one of those special films. There really just wasn't too many of those this year. There was some great films. I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that's another great film. Killers of the Flower Moon, great film. People stopped talking about it, but I still think Air was one of the best films this year. It just came out earlier in the year. Obi, what are you looking at? So I think Air is still one of the best films to come out this year. Call me crazy. Jason Martin wrote, Jaws would never have worked without the practical effects. 100%, Jason. That's one of the most famous, basically happy accidents in the fact that the shark didn't work. If the shark worked, we get a totally different film. And Jaws works so good in the fact that the shark's not seen. And honestly, I've always felt that way. Sometimes you don't have to see everything. Some stuff left for the imagination is still going to be better than actually seeing it, because your imagination is going to be exactly what you're expecting to see. So if you don't see that, you're kind of let down. That's why people get let down by superhero films a lot of the times, because they expect to see what their expectations get the better of them when it comes to that. They have all these expectations, but everyone's going to be let down at the end of the day. And Kevin Kruger wrote, could you have seen Kurt Russell play McClane back in the day? Yes, I really do think Kurt Russell could have been John McClane. He definitely also plays that regular guy perfectly. I mean, he kind of had his own version of this, except that he doesn't win. He wins by accident in Big Trouble in Little China. Jack Burton is very similar to John McClane. He's kind of, except Jack Burton's thing is he's just more along for the ride, like than actually being a hero. He's like an accidental hero, whereas Bruce Willis is a genuine hero. But I definitely think he could pull that off. We've seen Kurt Russell do Action Star, Escape from L.A. and New York. He's great in those movies, so we know he can do it. It's just, I guess that I didn't even read his name on the list of actors that they were interested in. So I'm actually very curious about that because Kurt Russell is a big action star in his own way. I mean, a couple of years, I think it's the next year is Tango and Cash. I think 89, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on that. Big Trouble in Little China is my third favorite movie of all time. Really, Sean? That's well, I've been saying it, and I'm sure Kevin's been saying it, Jason, that's one that we need on 4K really bad, which is strange because we've gotten a lot of John Carpenter movies on 4K Blu-ray. I mean, most of them. And we're getting Starman and the Columbia Classics Volume 2 collection. And I feel like people love Big Trouble in Little China. I don't know why. Like, I would have to say, at least in the circles I was in growing up, people talked about that movie along with Halloween and The Thing. Like, it was like Big Trouble in Little China might not make my top 5 John Carpenter movies, but a lot of people I knew love that movie. So it really surprises me that we haven't gotten an update or a new scan of that yet. I'm not too sure why. I got to look and see what studio has the rights to that in 2023. My best guess that's why, because the fact that we've gotten, some pretty weird John Carpenter movies on 4K and we haven't gotten Big Trouble in Little China makes no sense to me. Very quotable. It really is. And Kurt Russell, he's phenomenal in that movie. Kurt Russell has some of the best range and nobody ever talks about it. I mean, the guy played Elvis. He could do Westerns. He could do sci-fi. He could do comedy. The guy could do it all. He's just an actor's actor, man. He's just that damn good. I think it's Fox, Disney. Well, that's the answer then. They are never really in a rush. But if Disney was smart, that seems like the perfect Arrow Video release, in my opinion. Big Trouble in Little China. I can see that coming in one of their hard collector's cases, like The Warriors. Like, Big Trouble in Little China feels like that kind of movie. If they lend out the rights to Arrow Video, put it under the 20th Century Studios thing, just put their name on the side. You guys get both the profits. Give the fans that. It'd be a really nice collector's edition. I would love to see it. I mean, I really hope that happens. Man, a friend of mine texted me about the Bills game. He's in fantasy hell right now. He's versus a guy who had George Pickens, and George Pickens apparently got close to 40 fantasy points. So he's kind of like on the ropes right now. Trying to talk him down off a cliff. I agree. That would be amazing, wrote Sean. I would love it. Uncle V is here, looking handsome. He wrote, "What's up, Uncle V?" Uncle V is he's a good friend of mine. He's obviously the guy who also introduced me to a Serbian film, which is, I guess, a good thing. I don't know, but we watch wrestling together. Right now, we're almost up to the Royal Rumble in 1997. We're moving in on that. So just actually watched this week's Raw from 96, that is. As we start on the road to the Royal Rumble in 97 in the Alamo Dome. See how we had this all planned with the FBI? That just shows you how smart Hans Gruber is. Is this guy think he's going to get fired? Like, if the FBI is there telling me to do something, I'm going to be like, all right, fine, you're the FBI. I assume you'll talk to my bosses and clear this all up. This guy never actually worked for the cable company because cable companies have no problem shutting things down for weeks. No worries at all. No bearing on their conscience. That guy looks familiar. I never looked into actually who he is. If the FBI is telling you, again, you shouldn't have to worry. Really, no reason to worry. That's on them. The Burbs. Love the Burbs. That's exactly where it is. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, he's one of the buddies. He is great in that. I just bought the Burbs on Blu-ray too, which of course that means it'll be on 4K this year. That was one of the Joe Dante movies I needed. What are you doing, Lele? Go play with your toys. Go get your toys. Obi, go get your toys. Because one of you guys is going to hit those wires. And there it is. I love this scene. The reveal of what's in the safe is one of the best scenes in this movie. Kevin Kruger wrote, "Is Uncle V really your uncle?" No. He's not. He's actually just a friend of mine. I don't know why he goes by Uncle V. I assume because his first name starts with a V, but he's not my uncle. he's just a guy, friends with me and Matt. But yeah, kind of knew him. I've known him for a very, very long time. Showed me Alice Cooper's Poison, actually. Never forget that. Sean wrote, "Yep, unfortunately, he is no longer with us either." Yeah, oh my God. That I didn't know. Life is a fragile thing. It really is just crazy how quick it's over. I just saw today, actually, like another one of like Aaron Carter and Nick Carter's other sister died. Like their mother has lost 3 of her kids, of her 4 kids. Like it's heartbreaking. Life is really, really short. Losing 1 kid is an absolute nightmare. Imagine losing 3 of your 4 before you die. Like I could never imagine that. Some families are just tragic. And these guys, look how happy they are. I love that they're just thieves. Of your comrades. They didn't even realize. Another Von Erich. Yeah. That's what made I knew the story of the Von Erichs going into the movie today, but it's still so heartbreaking. It's really just there's just nothing more tragic than something like that. And to see how they handled it, obviously it's on film, but like I just cannot see how you can go on. But I guess that's life, right? I mean, life goes on. That's kind of what they say. The saying goes, and it is true. People pass away every day, and the world doesn't stop. No one stops. It's the hard thing. I plan to see it after Christmas, Sean. Yeah, I'm trying to get as much in as I can before because I got to make a best of the year list. I'm going to have my best of the 4Ks of the year next Saturday, a week from today, because the Warriors was the last one I needed to buy, and I just got to play catch up and watch the 4Ks for Barbie and John Wick 4. And I'm on the fence about doing the color purple if I think that'll make my top 10 list or not. But when I try and get as many as I can in, and then movies, I got to still see Poor Things. I got to see Ferrari. I would like to see Zone of Interest and All of Us Strangers. So I think those and what's it called? Saltburn. I think I got to see those 5 movies, and then I can make a best of 2023 list. I think that I got everything that I needed to see, so that I can at least make an honest list to make sure. So that'll probably be out in like a week or 2, I would say. But man, it was just I don't know why they do this to us in December. They just hammer movie after movie after movie, and then in January we're gonna have nothing. So I guess I can leave a little bit till early next year. Really, women do want to hear a man say I'm sorry. I know from experience. They won't say they're sorry though. At least my wife won't, and she's in the other room. I'm sorry. Or if I make a mistake, I made a mistake. If she made a mistake, we made a mistake. Just putting it out there. Look at the blood on the wall. Again, that's the little attention to detail I do appreciate. We know he's a bloody mess. Preach. Mine either, Roshan. Preach. As long as somebody understands my pain. This guy's a dick for this. Telling her that he'll import her if they don't let her in the house. This guy almost got John McClane and Holly killed. All for a story. He doesn't even believe that. He's just saying that. Leia, okay, relax. What are you so excited about, huh? Okay. Go see your mom. Maybe she'll let you outside if that's where you want to go. Even though you just went out. I know you just went out. Dogs. What's Faith's favorite action movie? Faith's favorite action movie. Ooh, if I get this wrong, she'll be upset because she actually does really like action movies. It's probably her favorite genre besides comedy. Oh man, make sure I don't get. She really does actually like Die Hard, but I don't think that's her favorite. What is her favorite action movie? Oh man, not Top Gun. I know that. What's her favorite? Oh, Bad Boys 2. That's it. 100%. We've watched that a million times together. Even though I think the first Bad Boys is better, she loves Bad Boys 2. Cinematography is just so much better in the first one. The second one is just blown out white. I don't know why they went that route. It's kind of similar cinematography to Clockers, actually, or the Spike Lee movie. But yeah, Bad Boys 2 is definitely her favorite action movie. It's a good one. I had the Bad Boys 2 poster on my wall for a very long time. Alexander Goodenough. That long blonde hair. Look at this. Now, this actually, one of my favorite lines in the movie is coming up in a second. This scene. She knew right away. I love this. Now these are the movie moments. Perfect. I love that scene. I love Hans Gruber in this movie. It's just perfect casting of Alan Rickman. Beat the shit out of him. I mean, let's be honest. Bruce Willis not in bad shape either. Terrence Henner. It's just putting a number on the people who are going to die. Quarter of the people are going to die. I can live with that, he says. Ugh. Good moving audio from left to right there as the helicopters fly by as well. Great sound design. Kevin Kruger, without Hans Gruber, I don't think this movie would be considered a classic. I like Alec Rickman's sidekick's name the role in the January Man. Yeah, he is great in the January Man. Good call on that, by the way, Sean. But yes, I agree with you, Kevin. Without Hans Gruber, this movie isn't a classic. You know, a hero has to be just as memorable as its villain, and in this movie, they're both very memorable. But that's why, for me, I just think Hans Gruber is one of those special roles, and just perfect. Alan Rickman. I mean, I'll sing his praises till the day I die for his role in this movie. It's just such a standout performance. It really is just unbelievable what he was able to do, and a lot of it is just through his face, acting with his face. Like, yes, he has that iconic deep voice, but he does a lot of the acting and portraying a lot of the emotion through his face. Like right here, he looks worried. I believe he's worried. Like he's a little bit stressed out. You know, he's got a short window to get out of there, get everything packed up. I am an exceptional thief, Mrs. McClane. Awesome. Awesome. I'll never not think that's awesome. I am an exceptional thief, Mrs. McClane. Ugh. Those are the moments in this movie for me that like just stand out. Obviously he gets a lot of great lines too. John McClane, he's our hero. We root for him to win, but Hans Gruber, it's just so memorable. What a way to go! Yeah, of course you don't like it. Just like Saigon. I was in junior high, dickhead. That deadpan delivery gets me every time. Why? What's up? Is mommy not giving you attention? I've only been in here for a little while. Again, there he goes. Dies in every movie. Died in Lethal Weapon the year before. All right. What? Okay. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. Go see your mom. Yeah, I'd want to get down too. I mean, you gotta, I guess, have balls to do this because we know what happens. The roof shots are intense. Did not die in Bill and Ted. You are correct, sir. He is good in Bill and Ted. It's funny, I forgot that. I think I've watched Bill and Ted 6 times over the last 3 years. Just keep coming up. Great movie, though. Again, another good time travel movie. In its own unique way. How are you doing, Hope? I love this. This is actually Bruce Willis's first day of shooting. So he came from Moonlighters because shot in the day, very similar to what they did in Back to the Future. They can only shoot this movie at night. Obviously it's at night, and the studio, Fox Studio, owned this building, and it was still in construction, so they were only able to use it at night. So he came from Moonlighters, and he did this scene. This scene where he ties this around him. So what a way to get thrown into it, huh? And that just also shows you why the continuity errors the way they are. This is where you start with Bruce Willis. Hilarious. This is a classic shot, too. Again, done practically. I assume that's a miniature. Certainly looks that way. Yeah. This is smart thinking, too, by him. But this could have gone bad. Should have gone bad. Quick thinking on his part. Sure, I think they say they did this first just in case he died and they could replace him. If that's the case, that makes a lot of sense. Because why else do you start with this scene? It definitely looks like the hardest stunt to do. But that's always one thing I've been personally fascinated with film, but I don't know if anyone else thinks about this. I think it's just something I think about because I'm older now, is how they actually schedule the shoot. You got to get the actors there. Like, that just sounds like a very stressful thing. Goodbye, Johnson and Johnson. Good luck for your soap company. Yeah. We're going to need some more FBI agents. Like, that's a very dark joke. Like, imagine you were out there that day. Great audio design again. You just hear it left to right behind you. Perfect. But anyway, that is a very dark joke. I mean, two guys and the pot? No, there's four guys in there. They're all dead. And you're making an FBI joke? Like, that's pretty messed up. Again, love the architecture. Argyle could have just took a nap. Smart. Finally, like, hey, he gets to do something. I'm a nervous laugher. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a nervous laugher. Like, when I get nervous, I tend to make jokes, and sometimes that gets me in trouble. I just I don't know why. I guess it's like a defense mechanism. I make jokes out of everything. Very self-deprecating. I would have probably laughed. I understand that, Sean. Yeah, like I mean, I guess that's better than making a. I probably would have been one of those guys making the joke. Like, I should really not throw any stones right now, because in the kind of person I am, I would have. That's what would have happened. And again, you hear that Christmas score kicking in. Like, that sounds very Star Wars-esque, in my opinion, right here. Kind of gives it the light tone. Very Christmassy, in my opinion. And this looks great on the 4K. Look at the reflections. Parking garages, like, that looks like it was clearly freshly painted. Oof. Oh. And the quarterback is sacked. That's the way she goes, boys. Kevin Kruger wrote, I thought it would have been interesting if this would have been set in New York City. The Hans Gruber fall would have been beautiful in the snow. God, Agile. Argyle is fired, Jason wrote. Yeah, Jason, I'm sorry. Sean wrote, Argyle is fired. Yeah, no. After doing that, it just cost the company. That's his first day driving the limo, and he crashed into an ambulance. I mean, this guy will probably say he's a hero. But yeah, I agree with you. Me personally, Kevin, you've heard me say this a million times. Anything set in the snow, I'm kind of a sucker for. It's just, I think snow is beautiful. I think snow is beautiful in real life until I have to shovel it. But I just think there's something peaceful about it. And anytime a movie is set in the snow, you're already checking a box for me right as out of the gate before we go into it. So yeah, I probably would have preferred that, but I do love the setting of Nakatomi Plaza just because the shots of it. I love this scene, by the way. International accident insurance won't cover that. No, intentional insurance will not cover that at all. It doesn't matter what the situation is. I've dealt with insurance companies. They won't cover something unless they have to cover something, and they have to be forced to. So insurance companies, they don't give you. What are you guys doing? One of you guys are going to step on something. Okay, be careful. Still the cowboy. Let it go. Down. Come on. Out. With Grace Kelly. Genius right here. Oh, that's right. Okay, yay, motherfucker. The way he says motherfucker is also great. Come on, Lay. What are you doing? You look like a big bear. Go see your mom. Up. Up. That guy had that coming for a while. Blows the smoke. Perfect. Up. I love that Holly's the one who knocks him out the window, too. And that's it. And there goes all the bear bonds. All that for nothing. And I love that the nice touch, that Rolex. And this is blue screen, but it's still done perfectly. I love this. One of the best deaths, like Kevin said, one of the best deaths in film history for any movie villain. That look. And again, they got that realistically. No, I hope not either. Ooh. Not good. Is there any scenario where you could survive that? Like if you roll at the last second, I don't want to test it, but I'm curious. I've always thought about that. Like if somebody jumps out of a plane, is there anything they can do to save their lives? Probably not, right? This is a great ending because it looks like snow. All the bear bonds falling. Ash kind of gives the impression of snow. It's like just, you know, it feels like a war zone, but yet it feels almost like a fantasy land. Perfect way to end the movie. Perfect place. Oh yeah, yeah. Of course. Worry about yourself as usual. This guy. Mm-mm-mm. See the reflection, like that's how good the 4K is. The reflection off the fireman's jacket is great. And Sean wrote, "Some people have survived jumping out of a place where a parachute failed." See, yeah, I'm curious what they do to somehow do that. I know this is a way to move the energy. I'm very curious about that. Kevin Kruger wrote, "What's your next review?" I think it's the wind resistance. Sean wrote, "Maybe there's got to be some sort of way." And Kevin asked, "What's my next review?" So I haven't like decided on next week's schedule because I might not put a video out on Christmas depending on editing. But this week's reviews are going to be, I'm having another video come out with Carmela, our top 3 winter horror movies. Next Saturday is going to be my top 10 4K Blu-rays of 2023. But through the week, I'm going to have reviews for Barbie's 4K, John Wick 4's 4K, and The Prophecy on 4K as well. So those are this week's reviews, just because there's nothing new coming out this week except for Man in the Iron Mask and The Prophecy, that 3-film 4K collection from Vinegar Syndrome. I was very happy to get it. I've watched 1 and 2 so far. I'll watch 3 pretty soon, shoot the review. You know, I want to check the Blu-rays that came packed in, run all the extras, check that stuff out. So that'll be the only new one. And then even the following week, there's really not anything new. So probably have some 4Ks that I haven't reviewed on the channel yet. I got your review to do as well, Kevin. Communion on 4K. Well, not on 4K, just Communion, the movie review. So we'll get that in probably in the next few weeks as well. I want to do my best films of 2023. You know, there's a lot coming up. I want to see more movies so I can at least always have those in as well. But spoiler alert on Barbie, it is a good 4K. The only thing is they didn't pack in the Blu-ray, and the extras are pretty good, but you know, they're kind of just little featurettes. And do you guys want a review of this Cinderella? It's got the new scan on it. That's why I bought it $10. And I'm just not a big fan of like the steel books. This one's actually a little bit damaged, but you know, pretty nice. Digital code being a giveaway. Jason Martin, Merry Christmas, everyone. Go Bills. Merry Christmas, Jason. I'll see you later, buddy. Thanks for being a supporter of the channel, man. We really appreciate that. Congrats to your Bills. What are they doing right now? 14-10 over the Chargers. It's not bad. I think you guys will pull it out. The Chargers are a dumpster fire. This guy deserved this, by the way. Yeah. Okay, like 1 sec. All right, guys. I'll let you out. All right. The movie's just about over. It is over. So that does it for Die Hard. Before I get out of here, though, guys, I'll take some final questions before we close out for the night. So anything you guys want to throw in there before I close out, let me know now. And like I said, for next month, I'll ask Kevin, I'll ask Jason, I'll ask Frank, I'll ask James Co. And I will also ask, who else am I missing? Frank, James, Jason, obviously Kevin. I'll ask all of you guys what you want to do for the upcoming month as far as, you know, the digital code, not the digital code, our next watch along. I hope you guys enjoyed the Die Hard watch along. I had a lot of fun. Love that movie. It's the second time I watched
that this season I already watched. I start my season off every year with Die Hard. It's the first Christmas movie I watch. I kind of watched Scrooge this year because of the review for the channel, so that technically was the first one. But we put our tree up the day after Thanksgiving, then we watched Die Hard. Sean wrote, just Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, Sean. Kevin Kruger wrote, when is the next giveaway? So, yes, the next giveaway, which is Waterworld on 4K. That's the next physical giveaway. I also have January's giveaway down there, which is going to be the Lost Boys on 4K. But the next giveaway is this bad boy right here, Waterworld on 4K. Next giveaway. And we were going to spin that wheel for that on January. I guess technically it's January 1st, right? It's going to be a week from Monday. We'll spin the wheel for the December giveaway. And then, we'll announce January's giveaway and everything that's planned for the channel members then. But the wheel spin will be a week from this upcoming Monday, along with that week's digital code giveaway. And if you guys see this now, for people who are still in here, this week's digital code giveaway is going to be on Tuesday because Monday is Christmas. And if I shoot anything that day and try and edit and upload it, my wife and my family will kill me because I haven't taken a day off in 2 years, and they want me to take a day off for Christmas. And, there still might be a video out. I'm going to try and get a video out, but if I don't get it out, it'll be out, Tuesday through the rest of the week. But, we'll see if I have enough time. I got to still edit a couple things tomorrow. Let's Talk Physical Media will be out tomorrow for everybody. If you're a channel member like Kevin, you guys can go watch that right now. I think it's a good episode. I had a lot of fun making it. So that's really going to do it here for me, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you guys all so much. Everybody who watched this with me, I really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the commentary. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Get out in those streets. Tell your friends about us. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, whatever you guys celebrate. Just enjoy it. Enjoy your family, friends. Watch as many movies as you possibly can. And just have a good time, guys. We'll be seeing you around.